getting ready to go live. I have to do some copying and pasting on this end to go. So, hey all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, September 7th, 2017. Just get ready for our conversation with WP3D Models developer Ross Peterson at the top of the hour. If you bear with me, I have some technical things to do to actually set up. So let me turn down my sound on my computer and go into share here. And where is my window that I need? It's over here. And I'm going to paste that here. Thanks for your patience, Ross. Just take a second getting set up here.
No problem.
Okay, and then I'm going to hit this, and you'll notice that we're going to go live here on the front page of the We Get Around Network Forum. So don't see it though. I've probably pasted the wrong link in there, so let's go back and look at that. Let's see. Let's try that again. Go get my link. Doesn't usually take me so long, just struggling here. Got so many windows open, got to figure out which window is which. Let's close that, let's close that. Okay.
Is there functionality that shows who is watching or who's asking questions? Not on my end, probably, but on yours.
No. If you just bear with me.
Sure.
Oh, I see what I did. Okay. Didn't grab the whole unique number. Let's paste that in here. Okay, let's try that again. Thanks all for your patience. It's kind of like we're live on YouTube and then we're live on the forum, so I got to work through those two. And it's magic. So hey all, if you're just tuning in, today is Thursday, September 7th, 2017. I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. I got a great show for you today at the top of the hour, just about 2 minutes from now. It's WP3D Models founder and developer, Ross Peterson. He's going to be visiting with us about version 3.0. Super excited to be visiting with Ross. So that'll be coming up right at the top of the hour. And then just to give you a heads up on tomorrow's show on Friday, we have the CEO of Aerial Look, Robert Konenkamp. He's going to be talking about leveraging WGAN. It's a platform in China. And you say, well, how could this possibly be relevant to me? Oh, well, if you're doing premium listings and you want to get more, you want to help agents get more and bigger premium listings. A lot of properties are being bought in the United States as investment through folks in China. And so really important to understand what WGAN is as a platform and how you can take advantage of that. And Robert is a Matterport service provider, CEO with Aerial Look, and he'll take us through the WGAN platform. So if you're a Matterport Pro, this will help you figure out how to make more money by helping your agent and broker clients get more and bigger premium listings. So super excited about that show. Anyway, we're coming up on the top of the hour here. And if you can bear with me, I got one more setting to change here. Thanks for your patience, Ross.
Sure.
And let's see. I have to find my window. It's really funny. I got so many windows open. I got to find my window. Where's my window? Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Voila. Okay, good. So almost ready. Five, four, three. Hi, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, September 7th, 2017, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. And super excited, joining us today on the program is WP3D Models founder, developer, Ross Peterson. Hey, Ross, good to see you.
Hi, Dan. Yeah, thanks for having me today.
Yeah, you bet. Always excited visiting with you. Always, gosh, I think back. You've been with the forum. I want to say for like nearly 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's been right. I think you had started it maybe July-ish, and I think we got involved maybe September-ish. So yeah, it's been about 3 years.
Yeah, and we built it's like 10,000 visitors a day, or excuse me, a month now. And thinking back, we were kind of building it one by one as Matterport service providers were finding us. And I knew we were onto something when I had a problem and I posted it at night before I went to sleep. And I woke up the next morning and there were practically pages, diagrams from you explaining responsive design, why Matterport wasn't, and how to fix that. And surprisingly, today it still isn't responsive design, and you have a solution that takes care of that. But I really felt like we were onto something in terms of creating community, of giving and getting help, because you just jumped in there and really saved the day for me. So I still remember that. It's like almost 3 years ago. So I thank you.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And lots of people have saved the day for me as well. So yeah, it's a fantastic resource you've created. Absolutely.
So thank you. So when did you get a Matterport camera and why?
It's funny. I found the Matterport system off of a blog called Real Geeks. No, it's not Real Geeks. It's Geek Estate. And I've followed that for a long time. I guess I just randomly saw a review of this camera and at the time just blown away with what it could create. And then I guess the background for me is that while I'm certainly not a real estate agent, my father and my sister are, and real estate's been in our family for a long time. I've been a web developer for a long time, and so I've helped them with their web properties and sort of just, I guess, on the outskirts, just keeping track or paying attention to what's happening in real estate, listening to them and looking around for myself. So I said, hey, have you guys seen this camera? And they hadn't yet, and we talked about it. And they, as a group, we decided to invest in the camera and start our own little scanning business that would supplement mostly their real estate business.
And so you do business for a Matterport service provider under what name and where are you located?
Yeah, so technically we do Missoula 3D. It's just the name of our town, Missoula3D.com. But
in Missoula, is that in Hawaii?
Right. Yes, Missoula, Hawaii. It is Missoula, Montana, Western Montana. That said, we have, for the most part, used the camera, I would say 95% of it for the family real estate business. Not a ton of other scans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So great. You get the camera. You start to use it for your family listings. I think you own some investment property, and so you've scanned those properties as well. Okay. So and then all of a sudden, I get this call, and we're chatting about something that becomes known as WP3D models. What was the problem or challenge that you saw of why that you felt that there was a need for what we now know as WP3D models?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So the in building out the website for Missoula 3D, whatever that was 3 years ago, I stumbled into just the challenge of even when you get to 4, 5, 6 models, you start to I keep calling them models, Matterport spaces. You have to figure out how to organize them on your site, or at least you should be figuring out how to organize them on your site so that you can be promoting your work, and doing so on your own domain. At least that was our goal. And so I built a really remedial solution just for us. And then watching, the forum and paying attention to sort of what was happening in the Matterport community, it became clear that this challenge existed for lots of people. And so because I've done WordPress development specifically for all these years, that it seemed like a natural fit to package up what I had started to build just as a one-off, and put it into something that could be reused. And that was sort of the genesis, if you want to call it, of WP3D.
Yeah, and so let's fast forward today. You've released the WP3D Models WordPress plugin version 3. Super excited to visit with you on this topic because it really is an essential tool for any Matterport service provider. And I think before I ask you specifically, what's changed in version 3.0, I thought it might be helpful if we kind of went over maybe, for those that might be just tuning in, heard of WP3D models, didn't quite know what it was, why I keep saying it's essential and they must have it. What's kind of the big picture view from your perspective of what your solution provides?
Sure. Well, I touched on it a little bit. I think the biggest piece of the puzzle when you're starting out as a scanner, or Matterport service professional, I think is establishing your branding, your company's look and feel, and then also your web presence, and building out all of that, buying a domain name, all of the things that go into your identity. And then on top of that, you're starting to scan, and you want to show off examples of your work. You want to see other types of commercial properties you've done, or other residentials, or any way that you want to organize your volume of work needs to happen in some way. And so lots of platforms exist for building a website. And a lot of them are really great. There's lots of drag and drop solutions, the Squarespaces, the Wixes, the Weebly's, and they work really well for building out, marketing sites for MSPs. The challenge is that there's sort of a glass ceiling with some of those solutions when it comes to quickly, and that's sort of an important piece, turning around. You've just gotten back from a scan, and you want to get this thing up online and back into your client's hands as quickly as possible. You might be able to build out a sort of a rhythm with one of those other solutions, but that sort of menial going through that process of building out whatever it is you're going to hand off to your client over and over and over gets old pretty fast. So WP3D, or our solution, makes it really easy to within just a matter of a few minutes build out a nice deliverable that you can hand off to your client and add to your what it is that you sell, in addition to just the scanning services, and supplement it with other work you might do, photography, floor plans, video, drone, anything else that you supplement a Matterport scan with. We've built tools to make it so that you can put all that together really quickly in a package, and then present them with that deliverable. And we've tried to make that as fast and easy as possible.
Yeah, Ross, if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen while you're talking, because I thought it might be helpful to actually look at a single property website that's been created with WP3D Models WordPress plugin. This is a tool that Ross has created. We love it. We adore it. There's my splash screen to begin. If I hit that button, I'm going to launch a Matterport space. I'll show you that in a moment. And then we have some description. We've included a video. There's a map. Here are images. In fact, we had these. This is actually virtual staging by Photo Spark. These rooms are actually empty. And then we happen to have since the whole space is empty, we have an archaeologic model that's been built in there and designed also by Photo Spark. And as I keep going down, I can see the floor plans that we had created by Blue Sketch, and then the contact on the owner and the lead generation. So this is like an amazing solution, Ross. I mean, this is you've created so much here. It's just amazing. I'm sorry I got you distracted, but
No.
You were talking a little bit about delivering to a client, and I thought I would show what it looks like, as a I know I can't see my full screen here, but if I go back here, you can see in the left corner, I have control over, in this particular client, it was perfectly fine to insert our logo, and then we have our logo here, but that certainly, we have a choice of inserting our real estate agent client. Our logo might be up at the top, it might be at the bottom, it might be in the presented by. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of tee that up, Ross, as you go through describing.
Yeah.
I think the first thing is delivering a single property website and the iterations that you enable.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's exactly right. That we really, the number one thing I think as we're building out new tools is this going to make it easier for someone in this profession to add value to what they're selling, and what they're selling is this scan. That's where it often starts, but it certainly doesn't end there. And you've talked often about what is it that differentiates you from another particular professional, maybe in your area, or what is it that you're offering to your clients that sets you apart? And we'd like to think that what we've created here allows people, or makes it easier for them to set themselves apart as a professional. If you can, within, even, it doesn't take long for a model to be processed at Matterport. So, you can turn one of these around and get it back in the client's hands with their logo on it, completely white labeled, within just a few hours even of scanning, if you have those assets ready. Minutes if you had all your other assets ready.
Yeah. And I think many of us are Matterport service providers are doing other things other than just Matterport, which means still photography,
right,
video, aerial, floor plans. It might be, as I was showing, virtual staged images, an archaeologic model, and I know we were playing last week with a new service that just came out from Media Bumpers Interactive that allows a lead generation form. Anyway, we're going to get to that, I know, in version 3.0 as you go through the benefits, but we were able to easily, quickly, and seamlessly include it in WP3D models and then automatically generate branded and unbranded versions and full screen versions to our clients. So
yeah, and that's probably that's a little bit of a segue of beyond the single property page that we were just looking at, which certainly is a big piece of the deliverable in quotes. There are the other, we call them views. And so when we built in the ability that you can, once you've added your content, then you can generate your own embed code so that information can be shared wherever this content is to be embedded, and that keeps your company identity, your branding, your logo as part of the package that gets embedded on another site, and that's been really valuable. We feel it helps. The continuity piece is really critical to Matterport service providers, and that's part of the puzzle.
Yeah, I thought I'd call up just another page maybe we could visit on the topic of how your content management system works to create a map on the fly and these images that you're seeing scroll by.
Right, exactly. So sometimes I think it's a little confusing for people maybe that aren't familiar with WordPress. WordPress is, it is 27 to 29% of the web at this point. New sites are often being built in WordPress, especially custom developed, custom needs, content managed sites. That said, how this content looks is related to your theme. So we've picked just a bare bones sort of off the shelf theme for your site here, and that's the piece that describes sort of the gray side and the top, or if you were to scroll all the way up, where it says "We Get Around Gallery of Matterport Spaces," that text title, all of that is coming from just the WordPress theme that we've selected, which again was just an off-the-shelf theme. So really, you can take this, and the piece that is the map and the thumbnails below it can be inserted into any WordPress theme. So once in a while, it's a little bit sticky for people that don't realize that they think they're going to get, that they don't realize they have control over that skin or that theme outside of WP3D.
The thing I love, in fact, Ross, as you know, We Get Around Atlanta has been using Squarespace is our site, and we had WordPress installed specifically so that we could take advantage of WP3D models. We continue to use Squarespace for other pages, but to me, every time that we want to add a sample to this map and to these thumbnails and have it searchable, so when we're out visiting with the client, let's say we're out talking about film and television to a potential client or construction, that we're able to sort by that particular category, and then maybe you could speak to the load times if we tried to do this by using Matterport embed code, what would happen to this page?
Yeah, sure. Well, and that's a good point, because if you have built a site out in another platform, that's great. We think there's lots of great solutions out there. I mean, I do WordPress development, so obviously I'm biased, but there's great tools with Squarespace and Wix and others. Our software doesn't work on those systems, but as you note, and as you've taken advantage of, you can set up a subdomain site. So if you look in your URL, it says gallery.wegetaround.com. And that gallery piece, just the word gallery, is actually the subdomain. So it was possible, and we did build out your site, your gallery site. We called it gallery.we-get-around.com. That was built in WordPress. So you don't have to pick one or the other. And a lot of WP3D clients are using this subdomain setup so that they can manage more of their marketing side of things with another platform, and then basically set up just a gallery or sometimes tours or portfolio or whatever term you want to use for that subdomain. So it works well.
And if you're not, if you are if your website is native in WordPress, then that URL will. We don't need a subdomain. It just.
Well, correct. Yeah. Then you would not need that. That's right. And I guess there's an SEO benefit to doing this too, because subdomains are often seen as, not often, they are seen as adding to the overall value of your primary domain. So this is a much better approach than you would get if you were, let's say, building single property pages on some other system that assigns their own domain name to it, or often there are solutions out there that you can pay X dollars for a one-off, or and then not assigning it to a domain name that you own, essentially loses that value. It's going away to either to someone else or to nowhere. And so we really feel like this is a great approach, regardless of what your platform is.
Yeah. So I think we've talked about kind of two high level examples of why WP3D models is an amazing solution. First, to be able to create not only a single property website, but a single property website that can be unbranded, branded. Just give me full screen. I want it with the lead generation. I don't want the lead generation. I want a logo. I don't want a logo. I want my client's logo. I want to include video. I want to include photos, a map, and really, this is just I'm geeky, but I'm not a tech, and so this is an easy process. I must say this is almost like picking up a fire hose rather than a garden hose. It's a very powerful tool, and and with powerful tools, it does take a little bit of a learning curve to use it. But I'm perfectly comfortable with all the different options and features that you've built in, and I think you're really amazing in terms of the user interface design. It's great. And then I think the second top level thing we were talking about, just simply having a gallery of tours, and it's not like I'm copying and pasting and putting code into that page. Once we have this set up, it automatically, every time we get around publishes a new Matterport space with WP3 models, it's automatically putting the push pin on the map. It's adding the thumbnail. It's indexing it by tags. In our case, by category, whether it's real estate or film and television or residential or hotels, and then another sort by our client. So very easy for us to slice and dice and get our content. Now you were starting to talk about the subdomain, and I think a little bit, I think was sort of kind of leading into search engine optimization, which
sort of. So, well, actually, you mentioned that it's these are optimized pages, and that's true. I'll just back up to that point because I think it's important. When you do add a Matterport space and create a model, behind the scenes, we built it so that we go and reference the photo that you've selected as your starting image within your Matterport space and or tour. And that image then gets pulled back to your site via WP3D and then resized so that it is a thumbnail size is created. And that's what you see in that gallery. And that makes those pages load very quickly. You're not referencing third-party or external images, and it's a smaller image, so it takes up less bandwidth. So those are little things that add up to make a big difference. But as far as SEO goes, we have tried, what we've done is made two different ways you can organize your models. We call them model types and model clients. I guess the most commonly used term, these are sort of categories, but in the WordPress world, they're actually referred to as taxonomy. And what it means is that you can, as we just saw on your screen, you can organize the type, and these are, I just want to make sure people realize that they're making up those terms. We don't pre-decide, you're going to have to either make it be residential or commercial or, whatever. You decide how you want to organize all of your spaces, all of your models, and then, and they will appear in that list under the map. If you choose this, so when you show all of your models, you can choose whether you want to show all of those types or not. But in addition, and this is the SEO piece, you can build separate pages for each one of your types, would you want to. And in that case, you could add, supplement it with more content so that you, maybe in your area, you're looking for traffic for construction scanning. You could build a whole page around construction-specific scanning, and then show all the models that you've done in that space. And those are great ways to bump your SEO. More pages, more content, and these pages, referred to often as landing pages, wouldn't have to be in the navigation of your site. They can just exist and be indexed by the search engines. So
yeah, I think even to take it higher up for people that they've heard the term SEO or search engine optimization, but eyes tend to glaze over. I guess the short way I tend to explain that to someone who's just starting out is to say, hey, if you're going to do 100 Matterport spaces this year, and each of those spaces is going to get 500 views, then that's 50,000 views. If you use the Matterport URL straight out of the Matterport workshop to give to your client, you've just given Matterport 50,000 page views to count towards their SEO, as opposed to giving them a WP3D models generated URL, and that's going to count for your organic search engine optimization. You're not paying for that SEO. Am I explaining that okay when I say that to people?
Right. I mean, the thing is, Matterport's still going to get all that traffic. Nothing changes there. Those views still happen and are still recorded at Matterport. But because they're coming from your website or embedded on your page, then you are going to get that time on site. You're going to get that all of that SEO juice headed back to your domain name, and you'll be able to tell exactly how long people are staying and what they're doing if you add analytics in, which we've documented on how to do that. And I can't understand why anyone wouldn't be wanting to at least put, even if it's just simply embedding a Matterport space in, if they had only Squarespace, just embedding it on a Squarespace page and then providing the Squarespace URL, i.e. their domain URL, to the client. But sending direct Matterport URLs straight to a client, you're losing out on all sorts of things, what we're talking about, SEO, as well as your own analytics, etc.
Yeah. I do get asked this question a lot. People, ask about, well, I've heard of this thing, WP3D models. And I tend to focus on three things, which we've covered so far: single property website, creating a gallery on the fly, and SEO. And it's generally, as soon as I say, you're going to get 50,000 page views this year, you're going to do another 100 models, you may get, 100,000 page views over the course of 2 years. You want the benefit of all that page views to count towards your website, so that we're essentially moving you up in search to be higher, that when somebody starts searching for photographer Calgary Matterport, photographer Calgary 3D tours, whatever it is, that you're going to be moved up organically without having to pay for that Google AdWords at the top.
Well, that's exactly it. It's really and people are always looking for ways to generate content that keeps people on their site, and Matterport, that's what it does, right? People will spend hours poking around in a space and going from room to room, and that time is recorded on your website, and it rises. Your stock goes up with regard to your domain if you have that content on it versus sending them away.
Yeah. And so that's a kind of segues into just maybe a couple other things before we get to some of the new features in 3.0. I just really kind of want to help set the scene for those that are new to WP3D models, or those just kind of want to be reminded why this is such an essential tool, even if you are using Wix or Squarespace or something else, is to say you can continue to do that, but get WordPress, get WP3D models, have it installed, and start taking advantage of it. Every time someone posts about parameters in the forum, I just want to pull out, my hair. I have no idea what a parameter is, and when somebody tells me I have to do, some extension of, I don't know, question mark equals plus slash something. I mean, you'll correct me here because I know I'm not getting this right. But somebody asked the question about, well, how do I have my model automatically play? And I don't want my highlights reel to show up, or I want my highlights reel to show up a little bit later, or I want to start at a certain point in the model when it plays, which is different than what was actually set up for Matterport, I want to suppress something or hide. Anyway, can you pick up on this? Because
Sure.
You just make it super easy and super fast to do all this stuff intuitively by checking boxes on and off.
Yeah, I mean, in Matterport's defense, that this is, parameters, URL parameters are fantastic tools for us as MSPs to be able to manipulate how the space appears and what happens in it. It's a great way to go, because we don't want to always have to have settings on the back end that are stored that then apply to that space across the board. We want, in some cases, you want to be able to show the highlight reel, and in some cases you don't want to show the highlight reel. These are all great reasons for having URL parameters. But you're right, you don't want to have to memorize them, and you don't want to have to look them up every time. And so yeah, we've just translated those into intuitive checkboxes and select boxes, so that you can, inside your model, make those choices. Yeah. And part of the fun too is that this is a moving target, and we're always trying to stay on top of what new parameters are being added or what functionality is changing with the existing parameters. Even things like the recently added, and you touched on this, but the recently added deep linking support in our 3.0 version. If you want to have a deep link, but you also don't want to show the highlight reel, you'd have to understand parameters enough to get that deep link and then copy in and add the parameter to the end of it that maybe turned off the highlight reel or paused the highlight reel for a number of seconds or whatever. But using WP3D, we've really tried hard to make it so that you don't even have to think about all of that.
I don't know why anyone would try and want to look at a lookup table of parameters. I mean, it's certainly very exciting that that there's all these things that you can do in terms of do I want a wider field of view? Do I want to have the multi-floor view or not? Am I including I want the guide to auto start or I don't? Do I want transitions in highlights reel to be all black, or do I want to use the Matterport mesh? These are all things that you make it super easy of just checking boxes or selecting your highlights reel. Do I want to keep the reel visible? Do I want to briefly show and then hide the reel? Do I want to hide the reel? I can just for point of reference. What is the parameter for briefly show, then hide the reel?
It's either HL equals 0 or HL equals 1. I can't remember.
That's the point, because there's so I put you on the spot because that's exactly the right answer that I'm expecting to hear, Ross, is like, oh my God, do you have to memorize this table of turning things on or off, or what is possible, or you just come into WP3D models and you start checking boxes to say, do you want to force help? That's something that I want to do. I want to force help, and I'm verbose, so I guess I
those are
verbose.
That one, sorry to interrupt you there, but that one's interesting, as is the highlight reel, because semi-recently there were new types of help. Help there was a different kind of help than the default that was originally just part of it, and so that's the difference between the verbose and the concise. And so we're keeping an eye on that, and we're making these modifications as they change. Same with the highlight reel. It used to be that if there was, you could hide the highlight reel before, but if you had a 360 view as part of the highlight reel, it was not possible to hide it without force hiding it. And so little things like that we sort of stay on top of and discover and then build in. We'd like to think that's part of the value of getting started with WP3D, so that you don't have to worry about those details as much.
Yeah, so let's take a break there for just a moment. I just want to say to our audience that's just tuning in on the We Get Around Network Forum, hello, I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm the founder of the forum. You're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Today is Thursday, September 7th, 2017, and our guest is WP3D 3D models founder and developer Ross Peterson. So excited to chat with Ross. Many of you are using WP3D models, and you are just so thankful to have this tool. And I know We Get Around is thrilled. We've been using it for years. I think it's so important that I actually consider it an essential tool for every Matterport service provider to run a business. It's just simply that important. We've touched on in the last half hour, some of the reasons: search engine optimization, creating a gallery map on the fly, single property websites that are easy to create, branded, unbranded, output iframe code, all kinds of ways to share. We didn't even touch on social sharing. Perhaps we'll save that for another day. And it just makes it really super easy to enable all the different powerful features of Matterport that are sometimes can be overwhelming because they're hidden behind things like parameters. So before we go on to version 3.0 and talk about what's new, I think it's so essential, not only as a way to make your life easier, but it really is a tool to make a lot of money. I'm not good at this. I saw this on television once. They had all these $20 bills and throwing it up. But I mean, you can make money with WP3D models because of the way you deliver your content in your search engine. So, Ross, I'm so thankful that you've actually created this tool for the community.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. This has been really, really fun. I mean, having been a developer for a long time, I always wanted to build something that was ongoing. A lot of my work, most of my work, is a client project and a website that gets built and gets launched and certainly lives on. But it's sort of, you cross it off the list, and maybe there's a little bit of support for something like that. But this project is something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I feel really lucky that it's been so well received, and that I get to interact with so many different people on a daily basis now that are using it. It's really rewarding.
Yeah, and it's rock solid, reliable, and your passion obviously shows through on what we see in order to enable all the features we want. So anyway, just everyone that is watching, WP3D Models WordPress plugin, an essential tool for every Matterport service provider. Ross, that kind of leads us into version 3.0. You recently released it. How about taking us through some of the highlights of what's different?
Sure. Let's see. I'll just go and get to my what's new list. I guess we can start with. Usually I start with the biggest stuff first, but that might be a little bit more of a conversation. So maybe I'll start backwards.
Let's start with the big news, because okay. I think we have an amazing. Take it from there.
Well, there are different things, let's call it content, that many MSPs are using, and probably the biggest would be video, where if there's a property that for whatever reason just didn't get scanned as a Matterport scan, or couldn't because it was bare land, or any number of reasons, or the client just didn't have the budget for it, but did have the budget for a video, I was getting a lot of requests for, hey, we love using WP3D, we love the single property page, but we can't use it if there isn't a Matterport scan. And so that seemed like a no-brainer to me. And so I started a couple versions, at least one version ago, by at least introducing a way that you could still build out a page if it was just built around a static image. And that worked well enough, except it loses that luster where that hero space is actually used for something interactive. And so in this version, we've added certainly video support. We've added the ability to add 360 panoramas, and we've added sort of a more blanket piece that we're calling generic embed, which essentially allows you to add almost anything that can be embedded. in this space. So it catches a lot of the other, we'll just call it stuff, you know, archaeologic or Google Street View, or even, or yeah, like we talked about a few days ago, this solution you've got here, and this.
Yeah. So this screen that I'm sharing right now.
And you're on the standard view. If you wanted to, I don't know if you want to go to the skinned view, to the single property view.
Yeah, I could go to the single go over here, create the that view right there, private test. This was something I was really curious about, was could I not only add a video instead of a Matterport Spaces 3D tour, but could I add an interactive video? So let's play that video for a second. There is some music, but we won't play the music for you. This is actually created by Media Bumpers Interactive, and it's got some video. It's customized with the logo, contact info, boom. And now you can collect some information as a lead in that video. And if I go here, just and hit play, then I can then take the viewer right to the Matterport Spaces 3D tour that I want to show them. So that was kind of mashing up WP3D models feature for saying, hey, not only can you embed a Matterport space, but you can embed a photo or a video and other content through iframe, and that's all that was popping in iframe. So just like we looked at an Archilogic model, and anything that's iframe can pop into WP3D models. So
and it should probably be noted that that it's often best if what gets added is actually auto-played. Most content that we're talking about can be auto-played, so that when the play button on WP3D gets clicked, the content then loads, and it then loads as an autoplay.
Thank you. Yes, and so we're back to parameters, and that was a parameter that I missed, adding the autoplay feature to the video.
To the media bumpers piece.
Yeah, that would have been simple enough. So when I clicked, it actually would have automatically played. So I think that's a great tip for anyone that's using any kind of media, is to enable the autoplay once you hit the still store, is what I would call it. What you call it something else.
And that's true. We've built custom tools for YouTube and Vimeo content in that hero header. We're calling it the base model content space, but and that will automatically add the autoplay pice for those kinds of content.
Ross, we're losing you just a little bit.
Sorry, leaning.
I don't get to see you too often, so I really want to see you there. So
yeah, I mean that we've built in, but as you can imagine, there's so many different kinds of things that people might, and I don't like the word things or stuff, but there's so many different types of content that could be added, or where a model could be built around. That we've stuck with this generic iframe embed for now.
Yeah, and I think even just one example is to say, now that Matterport enables a short video to be created on the fly, if you're happy with that video, then that can be what plays in that window for Matterport Space is video.
You could do that, yeah. Or you could use that Matterport video as the background video, which is one of those other tools that we built a version or two ago. And I've seen a lot of people doing that, where they'll take that video, upload it to YouTube, even though its quality isn't HD, but it still looks good. And then that auto-generated video is appearing right there, so that it's behind the play button before you actually launch the Matterport tour, and that looks pretty classy in a lot of places.
Yes, I know you have a ton of new and exciting things in version 3.0, and I know we're not going to spend that much time on each. This is so important that I think you gave a great example. You have a client, you've been doing Matterport spaces, all of a sudden they have just land, and you're not going to go out and shoot a Matterport space of land, but it turns out to be 90 acres, and you might be doing a video. Frankly, I hope you're doing a 360 video, because it would play, super nice as we do this drive around this property. Go get your little 360. You can buy these 360 video cameras starting at $130. It's like so crazy, and there's at least 70 cameras in the space. Imagine through your sunroof, you just pop that up. You're driving 90 acres or whatever it is, and your client's doing the narration. Over here are the cows, over here are the sheep. I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The barn is over to the left. The lake is over to the right. It does. Don't get caught up on all the oh, will this be production values? No, people are interested in the content, and whether you're holding your iPhone up out your sunroof capturing or your 360 camera, the point is WP3D models. You can substitute where you would normally put Matterport and put other great content.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was just looking, we can look at some other examples, or we can come back to that in another show. But yeah, that's exactly right. And that's the piece that I feel like is really sort of a game changer for this version, because it really does open the door for lots of different mashup ideas. And I love the media bumpers thing too. There's lots of people that they want a very custom scenario, let's call it, and building out specific tools for that really custom thing has been a big challenge for us. If one person sort of requests one specific scenario, it's tricky for us to know when they have a great idea that maybe more people would want, or is it quite literally a one-off that isn't what everybody wants. So some of these other pieces, like what you're talking about here, or what you've shown, can now be included. And it's not to get away from using Matterport even slightly. It's how can we be more inclusive in some ways to add pieces that maybe tie Matterport models together in a different way, or so we're going to be putting lots of new features, new demos out soon that show off different ways you can add different base model content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you want to show another kind of example of how you're using?
We sure could. Let's see here. Let me see if I can pull one up.
And I know while you're pulling one up, I see that Metroplex 360 developer Chris Hickman has joined our virtual studio audience. So hey, Chris, thanks for joining in. And he may have his sound turned off and just
sure.
Popping in.
Let's see here. So
Chris let me know he doesn't have a mic on his computer today, but he does say, wouldn't it be nice if Matterport provided a public-facing URL for the Matterport videos? Wouldn't that be terrific? Because I know my workflow. Great question, Chris. Because or observation. I know my workflow right now is we download the video from Matterport, we upload it to YouTube, we then insert it into WP3D models. Wouldn't it be nice if there was just a URL that was generated for that video?
Yeah, and that's right. Yeah, we could. Well, there would be a lot more we could do within WP3D if more of those things were public.
Yeah, I could certainly imagine once the API is public and frozen, that if Matterport was generating that URL, it would be easy and simple for you to just simply suck it right in to WP3D models, and then the user would be able to check the box of whether they wanted to play that video or not play that video. Forgive me, I'm doing development here while we're on the fly.
No, that's fine. So this is just an example that just a quick demo. This is a non-real space, but let me see here. I'll share this.
Okay.
Okay. So can you see this, guys?
Yeah, Marshall Oaks. Yep.
So this is just a quick demo, but this is obviously the skinned view for this property. Mm-hmm. But now clicking the play button, loads up a 360 panorama. And in addition, you can click and go into a Matterport tour. So a nice way to integrate Matterport content without, to orient you in where that place may be. So.
Yeah, that's great. If you're looking at a multi-family home community and you got 5 model types and you want to give the overall view, I'm just thinking of the interactive image that you did pops in with iframe, and then boom, you got your links to take you to Matterport, or if you were going to a video or a still picture. So I think this is like a really great example of showing the power of what one can do with WP3D models with this new feature that you call
model base types.
Model base types. So if we start talking in the forum about model base types, think about it as where you presently see Matterport in WP3D models, just lots and lots of other options.
Yeah, exactly. So we were talking about, so that's the really, of course, that's the big one. And lots of other things that we'll be working on will be related to how we're working with model base types. But that doesn't change any sort of commitment to making sure that we're fully integrated with the Matterport system. So there's most of everything else is almost everything else is related to tying in new pieces that have been added from there, new languages and a lot of the deep links. That was a big one. That was really, I was surprised at how heavily requested that was.
Talk about that some more. We just touched on that briefly. Maybe you have some examples of how that deep can be used.
Yeah, well, we could.
You want me to call one up while you're chatting?
Do you have one that's already been built with a deep link?
I don't, but I could call up a Matterport space to show where that deep link is found.
Sure, we could. Yeah, or I why don't you do that, and I'll do the same, and then we can even just add one.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll call it up, and we'll pop it into one of our active listings today, actually, to show how easy that is. So let me share my screen here.
Okay.
I got so many windows open, Ross. It's like let me see if I can find my window, and boom. Let's see. Oh, I didn't share my screen, so maybe a little bit harder than I made it. But I'm in a Matterport space right now within Matterport Workshop. And let's see if I have a particular view that I'd like. This is a big house I was really interested in. Let's say showing this sunroom here. Okay. Actually overlooks the pool. So I want to maybe show, I don't know if that's the best view, but at least you'll kind of get what I'm saying. So I'm going to hit the U key, and as soon as I hit the U key, if you look at the very top, it says link to, and that is that exact spot there. And I'm going to copy that link, and forgive me, I actually have to close out my screen share to get to my other screen. So that I can go back into WP3D models. And I'm not sure I had that window open. So
you probably just want to make a new, you can just make a new test model with that.
Yeah. So if I go back in to here I am, and then I'm going to just go share my screen in a second. I just want to call up that model first in WP. So let's go into, let's see. Sorry, Ross, almost there. Thanks for your patience. I just need to find my screen share, which is right here, and then go into WP3D models. And I had already copied that link. So this is that particular property. So right here in model type, where it says Matterport URL, this supports deep links, explains just what we did. And if I copy it here, voila, and I hit update, then when we go look at the model, it would be exactly that view that we were just showing. Now, I didn't update, so we're not going to go to that exact view, but had that been the deep link when we opened it up right now, that's what we would fly into. So what do you think some of the use cases are for using deep links within WP3D models?
Yeah, I mean, the use cases that have been told to me are that people are even planning to build several models around the same property, each one opening into a different place, and then being able to promote them separate. So you have a URL to a short URL on your domain to a specific spot of maybe a very large. I could imagine a brewery saying here's the tasting room, or here's the whatever. And building an actual URL just to that spot. To be honest, I was a little surprised at the volume of people who really wanted to be able to do that, but I do get it. I can understand how valuable it would be, but I think we're still going to be seeing how people are using it.
Yeah, I think, Ross, an interesting application would be, construction site. I would say, you shoot 20,000 square feet of construction, and there's certain things that you might want to be showing the safety manager for the project or the investors for the project. And you may just want to make it easier for them to get to the exact spot in that construction to view that specific thing that you want to show them the flashing that hasn't been installed when the drywall goes up, boom, as soon as there's a leak or somebody goes to put a nail in the wall, you're going to go right into the hose or utilities rather than hitting the flashing and stopping you from putting a nail in. I don't know, just
yeah. Well, those are the great. I think obviously those work well with Matter tags, and you can point directly to a spot with this solution. Someday we hope you'll be able to navigate to specific Matter tags from outside of the running tour, and that's something that would be great, and it's been on my wish list for a while.
Yeah, so deep URLs, I think, for those watching, our discussion today, I think that's a great topic for the We Get Around Network Forum, is either and deep URLs, relatively new, what are you using them for? Or what might you use them for? And how might you use them, a deep URL within WP3D models? So if you're presently using WP3D models, you kind of get it, and then you go, and you have that aha moment of how you might use a deep URL. Love to hear that. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's still a number of different things that were added, but we could probably go on for a while. I think perhaps it'd be good to hear from people maybe after this concludes, and then we can come back with sort of another episode maybe where we go into some more detail on certain things that people have questions on.
Yeah, I'll run through just a few more, and then maybe if you want to comment, be able to a single property website, but you want to have a client logo and link back to the client's website.
Yep. Now, when we built the single property webpage view, we call it the skin view. The goal was to make it so that page, that template, was hyper focused on that one property, and so trying to prevent actually linking away to other things where somebody might get distracted and not be focused on that property. While we still believe that's the best approach for that view, if you're going to build a web page around one property, it should just be about that property. There is an argument that it'd be nice to know who the person was that scanned it, and a little more credit. I mean, a big piece of WP3D is allowing and promoting the branding of whomever is doing scanning. So yeah, we did add that recently, that you can add your own URL back to that logo. It's a small adjustment, but it was heavily requested.
Yeah, no, I love it. We Get Around Atlanta did a pro bono project for a portion of a museum, and so part of it is that's an opportunity for us to put our branding on it. And yes, it certainly is nice to have a link back to us. We certainly wouldn't do that, on a paid client, but all of a sudden, here's an opportunity that we get to use our logo, a link back to us, and get referral business from a pro bono project that we did.
Yeah. Oh, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I know one of the features you added in one generation was to be able to mark a property as sold or sale pending, and so now you've added the ability for a custom option to fill in whatever that, I don't know what that might be, but you might have some examples of what people have asked for. And I'm presuming you didn't want to the library of, well, we think the property might sell as a...
Yeah, exactly. It was that we were getting requests for, oh, this is, we love it, but also now we want one for lease, and we want one for, whatever.
Lease, that sounds great. Rent. So you didn't want to build necessarily a pop-up that populated things that only a few people would want, but now you've empowered us all to I just hearing you say that, that means, for that museum, we might have said, that particular show that we were documenting until January 1st or something. So we might have been able to actually promote some aspect, or buy tickets, some other way to hype it using that feature that you've now added to WP3D models. You want to talk about languages? I think for our audience, it's actually important because we now have members in 104 countries speaking a lot of languages, and I think you've gotten a lot of requests. So tell us what you've done with language support.
Sure. Yeah. So it's actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it can be a little confusing. When it comes to language support, there's Matterport's showcase language, which there are a number of choices now. I believe it's Spanish, of course, English, German, Russian, and French, and I think that's it at the moment. And then I think Chris is chiming in. Yeah, yep. And so that is all supported with a parameter. And then, and that works really well. But we do actually offer more language support within WP3D, where we have free add-ons for anyone that requests it for a number of other languages, all of those that we've mentioned, but others, some which sort of ties into this RTL, or right to left support for languages that read right to left.
Hebrew.
Yeah, Hebrew, exactly. Arabic, Persian, Farsi. So those are not supported inside the showcase, but are supported for labels inside WP3D. So we basically, we're looking at the best way to start promoting that on our website, where you could download those add-ons yourself. But for now, we just wait for people to sort of request that, and then we can forward that along with some instruction.
Yeah, I know we could probably talk for hours. I know I could listen to you for hours, and I know we're not gonna do that today. So before we get into a little bit about pricing and such, I just wanted to go over maybe one more version 3.0 feature, social sharing of how you've goosed social sharing some.
Sure. So. Well, social sharing, we're sharing the URL from the MSP's website. That domain is what's shared. And then a couple versions ago, we built in support for optionally adding a play button to the image that's generated, the social share image. That's worked out really well for making content on specifically Facebook, but the others as well. But when it's in the Facebook feed and been shared in that feed, it looks much more clickable if there's a play button sitting on top of that image. And so we built that a while back. But what happens is that if somebody clicks on that, then they land on the shared URL. That's what we want to have happen. But then they have to click play again because it wasn't set to auto start. So we added a way that now if you elect to, we'll add some code to the page that clicking from that social share will actually auto start. So there's not a forced additional click. And it's worked out well for others who want to just share that URL so that it jumps right into the playing content, whatever it is. And this does work with video or model-based types, other alternative model-based types. So just adding, it's really simple. It's just a pound start to the end of the skinned URL will actually auto start that.
Yeah, and we don't need to do that. And so I would summarize, everything you just said is magic. Ross adds magic. So
it is magic. Yeah,
it's magic. It works as you expect that it should work. And so, of all the different things that have been added to version 3.0, it's like, okay, more magic, more pixie dust. It makes it super easy to do things that should be super easy, but aren't presently for those of us that aren't developers. And so, I think it's great. Ross, before we get into pricing, was there any other version 3.0 that you wanted to chat about or frequently asked questions so far that you've been getting?
I'm just looking through the list. I don't think there's anything really specific that's critical. We do have something coming out that we're working on, and we're excited about. One of the challenges that's been presented with regard to any kind of interactive content like this is that it's really not particularly accessible. So if you have vision impairment or hearing impairment, well, specifically vision, but it's challenging to see this cool thing that we all know as Matterport or any other kinds of this content. And so we're working on ways in which we can provide a way that you can add alternative content and use keyboard accessibility to navigate between it on the full screen view. This would make WP3D a great way to market your services to companies and businesses that need accessibility or need better accessibility. And defining what accessibility is not the business we're going to get into here, but adding more accessible features is something we're working hard on.
I think that's super. I think that's both a gift or giving back, but it's also it's a great thing. I recall working with a photographer in Nashville, Tennessee, some time ago, who was shooting 360s for a university for the visually impaired. And so, well, okay, why are you shooting this photography for people that are blind? Well, it turns out a lot of people are visually impaired. They're not blind. They just have to see things really way up close or under magnification, or have the navigational features that Ross is describing. And so, what a wonderful thing that visually impaired students can tour a college campus up close and then visualize it in their mind as they're navigating, walking around the campus. And certainly in that example, also enabled a lot of parents who couldn't afford or didn't have the time from a distant city to come visit the campus could actually see the campus as well. So in that case, that tour was used for both recruitment and helping students navigate the campus. And so I think it just becomes a whole nother market opportunity of either on a pro-social basis or on a business basis, helping companies address these accessibility for, just as an example, visually impaired.
Yeah, and obviously there's a lot of work that goes into creating that alternative content, but we want to make it easy that you can keep using WP3D, and just like kind of our motto has been from the beginning is we want to be able to make it easy to supplement your content, add to it and customize it the way you want, and better meet the needs through these pieces. So we're looking at different ways that we might build add-on support for WP3D for specific use cases and stuff. So
yeah. Awesome. So Ross, WP3D model, and I should mention, if you want to take a look at the all the new features, we've been writing a lot in the We Get Around Network forum. You can certainly go to the forum, search for WP3D models. There's discussions going on about the new features. And certainly go to Ross's website. He'll WP3Dmodels.com, and then I'd encourage you to go to his most recent blog post. It's really awesome. Lists all the new 3.0 features. Also lists some enhancements along the way to existing. And I think you started some training videos. So how to install WP3D models and how to create your first model, for example. So we won't play those videos for you. Just know that you'll find them either in the forum with the link or go to WP3Dmodels.com. Ross, how much? How much does it cost?
So we work on an annual licensing. If you want to buy it directly from WP3D, it's $199 for the first year, and then we have a discount for subsequent years, so 30% for 30% off for subsequent yearly licenses, and that license entitles you to all upgrades. So sometimes people ask us and say, well, I don't want to buy it until your next version comes out, or whatever. And the truth is, you'll always get all the versions. It's just if you have an active license, and of course that does entitle you to support as well, which we pride ourselves on getting back to people as quickly as possible and providing good support.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier in the program, we have a special for We Get Around Network standard members and premium members, free use of WP3D Models WordPress plugin, as long as you're a standard or a premium member. So, as I said earlier in the program, WP3D Models essential marketing tool to help you succeed faster. And we think it's so essential that we just bundle it. We include it as just one of around 40 plus membership benefits for standard and premium members. And when you have WP3D models, can I do this? I don't know if I can do it any better. You can make more money, having this tool, because it makes your life easier, and it gives you something that's sellable. Just parenthetically, when I think about a WP3D, when I think about a Matterport Space 3D tour, I think about that as a tool that you give a client. When you deliver it as a single property website with the Matterport space and your photos, videos, drone, floor plans, text, map, agent information, lead generation, whatever I'm leaving out, you're now offering a solution to your clients rather than just one piece of digital asset. And we didn't say, but it's so important. Since WP3D models generate single property websites that are branded, that you can give to your client, who can share with their client to share with their friends, all branded. But most importantly for MLS, it instantly creates an unbranded version, and you now have a link that can be pasted in any MLS.
Yeah, so that content doesn't have to be added twice. You get both of those. We call them views. But they once you've added your content, everything you just got done saying, then those views are automatically generated. That's right. So you don't have to go back and re-add and make a new version that doesn't have branding. That just happens automatically. And I guess the one other thing I've forgotten to mention is that we get asked a lot how many tours you can create, how many models you can create with WP3D. And so, really the answer is that it's unlimited. You can make as many as you want. Unlike maybe a solution where you would be paying per this is an annual license, and then there's no effective limit. There's a limit by your hosting account, perhaps, if you're adding millions of them. But
yeah, so it's essential tool. And I say this for essential tool for Matterport service providers, but I'm going to expand that today and say essential tool for whatever kind of 3D tour, photographer, videographer, artist, whatever it is that you're creating. This is the essential tool for how you deliver a solution to your clients. So, Ross, you've been very generous with your time. I know even before our program, you shared with me that you'd love to come back and we could do a demo of WP3D models for newbies. So Ross will take you through the installation, creating a model, giving you he does one-on-one training. You can engage him for training, but frankly, this fire hose, if you watch a video, and we're going to go create one together, so it'll take you through from beginning to end of this is how you install it, this is how you create a model, and then here are all the different things of how you add photos, videos, map, logos, etc. So really excited about Ross coming back to the program to do a demo for newbies. And then we're going to do a whole separate WGAN-TV Live at 5 with Ross for power users. So if you're pushing the envelope of using WP3D models and you want to know some of the other, tips and techniques for power users, we're going to do an entire episode just for you. And we have other demos that Ross will come back. It's been graciously offered to come back and talk about some other integrations of WP3D models with other other solutions. So, Ross, before we go, anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I sure appreciate you having me on today. It's nice to be able to talk about something with you.
Yeah,
we spend a lot of time on email and rarely in person. So it's good.
Yeah,
in person.
Yeah. I know you're not much for video, but you're a natural. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So thanks all. Again, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the WGAN Forum. You've been watching WGAN TV Live at 5. Today, Thursday, September 7th, and we've been visiting with WP3D Models founder and developer Ross Peterson on WP3D Models version 3.0. If you missed any portion of today's show, after I have dinner later tonight, we'll get that video posted to the forum so you can catch up to see what you missed. So thanks for watching. WGAN TV Live at 5 on the We Get Around Network forum. So, Ross, thank you. I've stopped the video, but we are still live on YouTube, and YouTube will finish in just a second. And I just wanted to, before we go, say thank you so much. Super appreciate it, and look forward to talking with you more.
Me too. Yeah, thanks a lot, Dan.
Thank you. So, Ross, I'm going to start teasing for what's coming up next week. Feel free to drop off. You're welcome to stay on. Chris, you're welcome to stay on. I totally get it if you want to drop off as I start talking about what's coming up tomorrow, Friday, and next week.
Sounds great. I will leave you now, and we'll be in touch.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ross.
Take care.
Okay. And thanks, Chris. You're welcome to stay there or disappear. That's fine too. So I did want to talk a little bit about what's coming up tomorrow, Friday, on WGAN TV Live at 5. We have Aerial Look's Robert Konenkamp. He will be talking about, he's the CEO of Aerial Look, Matterport service provider on steroids, and he will be talking about how to leverage Daiwukan. This is a platform in China, and in order to list a property for sale on this platform and in China, it must have a Matterport Spaces 3D tour, and it is a and frankly, through the end of this year, there's a special offer in terms of being able to get free and some savings. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. But right now, you can publish Matterport Spaces 3D Tours listings for your clients to the WGAN platform. And if you're in a market where there are a lot of Chinese investors buying property, then this is another platform where you want your Matterport Spaces to show up, whether you're offering that to your client for free or whether you're offering that as an optional extra. A great show to tune in tomorrow, Friday, September 8th, on WGAN-TV live at 5. I did also want to talk a little bit about our upcoming for next week. If you are looking over at the right here, you'll see the Join Virtual Studio Audience, and right below that is a link for WGAN TV programming schedule. And you see coming up on Monday, we're going to have PhotoSpark founder John Javier. He has 5 great visual storytelling solutions. There are great things that you can upsell. Just to tease, one of them is virtual twilight. So if you've been returning back at twilight in order to get that one shot, imagine just sending your hero image to PhotoSpark and having them turn it into a virtual twilight image, just as if you had taken the shot at twilight. And the pricing, when you hear how much it costs, is insanely easy. It's one of those things where you can charge a lot of money and it doesn't cost you any more effort, and it just costs you some de minimis amount of money. So that's Monday, September 11th, 2017, live at 5, PhotoSpark founder John Javier. On Tuesday, September 12th, we're going to have a Matterport content distribution roundtable. So previously, this has been referred to as Matterport Syndication Beta. And so if you've been reading in the forum about some of your content when you've verified address showing up on Realtor.com, and if you're in the New York area, about it showing up on the New York Times site, Matterport plans to kick it up on steroids in terms of syndication of content. And they just announced some really exciting features to give us Matterport service providers control over what content gets syndicated, what doesn't get syndicated, and we'll talk about that. So I'm counting on you to register for the roundtable. I'm inviting you. You're a member of the We Get Around Network Forum. Click on that button, register for that roundtable. It's totally free. I know some of you have some very strong opinions on Matterport syndication now going forward to be known as Matterport content distribution. I encourage you to join this roundtable discussion Tuesday, September 12th, 2017 on WGAN TV live at 5. On Wednesday, we're going to have a special event broadcast, which is the Road to Holodeck, Light Fields and Volumetric VR. This is the VR AR Association San Francisco chapter. And they are enabling us to live stream their event on the We Get Around Network Forum. I'm super excited about this. I know it sounds like this super geeky topic. What is volumetric VR and why does that matter to us, and why we're actually using that without perhaps even knowing that. So it'll be a really exciting program. There'll be a time change on that. It's going to air at 9 p.m. Eastern time on September 13th. The meetup takes place in San Francisco locally, Pacific time, 6 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. And certainly if you're in the San Francisco area, I would encourage you to attend this meetup. If you go to the calendar, you'll click through and get to the website and you could register in person. But we're going to have a live stream from this meetup. This is, in fact, the second meetup we've done a live stream for. We did one in Atlanta. We're doing one from San Francisco for the VR AR Association San Francisco chapter. And frankly, if you have an exciting event that's taking place in your backyard and you think it would be appropriate for the We Get Around Network Forum community, and you can arrange for a live stream for us. We just need either a YouTube link or a Vimeo link, and we can live stream that on the We Get Around Network Forum. Please do reach out to me. So I think that's an exciting event. It's very geeky, but geeky in a really good way, and we'll probably get a little taste of the excitement of what's going on in San Francisco. So on Thursday, I hope this is correct. I actually have WP3D Models founder and developer Ross Peterson returning. I may not have that correct, so we may have a program change on that. So I'm going to double check next week with Ross and see if that time would work for him, and to see which of the topics he'd like to cover. But we may have a programming change. I may be getting ahead of myself on that. Oh no, forgive me. I'm looking at the wrong place on my page. So we actually did that today. We haven't scheduled Ross today. So on Thursday, September 14th, is Blue Sketch founder Petra Soderling, and she'll be talking about 2D, 3D floor plans, virtual staging, smart tags. I know many of you use Blue Sketch for your floor plans, and there's lots of reasons to use Blue Sketch. And so we'll actually go over those as well in our discussion with Petra. She's been a longtime member of the We Get Around Network Forum community, often actively posting in discussions, helping people out with their questions, and runs a business that has been built around the Matterport ecosystem of providing two-dimensional floor plans, three-dimensional floor plans, and also virtual staging, and something very exciting called smart tags. What is that? Come find out. So that's Blue Sketch founder Petra Soderling. That's on Thursday, September 14th, WGAN-TV live at 5. And then we're going to wrap up next week, Friday, September 15th, with a Google Street View wish list roundtable. And this is really exciting stuff. There's stuff that Google Street View does with its API, and that enables Google trusted photographers, and really soon, even now today, all of us, to be able to publish to Google Street View. And I know many of us are very excited about Matterport offering Matterport to Google Street View publishing. But I would say part of the delay of why we haven't seen that product out commercially is the underlying Google Street View API. And so it does cause some angst with the folks that are already publishing a lot of content to Google Street View. So we're going to do three things on that roundtable. We're going to talk about pain points. What pain points are we presently experiencing publishing to Google Maps, Google Street View? Second, what the wish list would be, the wish of how to solve that problem. So we really want to be proactive to say, okay, you're concerned about the paint time of something, or there's some label you used to have and now it's missing. So we're not only going to say, not just kvetch of what the problems are, but what are the solutions that Matterport service providers, Google Street View photographers would recommend to Google. And I think the third thing we're going to do is, because I suspect that we're going to have so many things on the wish list, we'll see if we can edit the wish list on the fly to some extent to prioritize, to say, here are the top 3 or the top 5 things that really matter, and we think not only to us as photographers publishing to Google Street View, but to Google, in essence, to want to empower photographers, everyone, to be publishing content. And so there are some recommendations of things that the community would like to see done in order to have more clients want to pay photographers to create great content for the Google Street View platform. And since Google has a vision of mapping the world of indoor and outdoor spaces, with the exception of private spaces, public spaces, probably the key word. The question is, how can we help Google increase the amount of content that's published to their platform? And part of that is enabling professional photographers to earn more money from their clients, and their clients essentially need to be happy. So we're going to touch on those pain points. So we do have Metroplex 360 founder Chris Hickman. He's going to be on that platform, be on that roundtable. We also have at AARONGELS, and I'll ask him for the pronunciation of that when we get together. But he's been quite vocal in the forum, very specific to things related to Google. We will also we've reached out to some other Google photographers to ask them to join the program. If you're one of them, if you are publishing to Google and you got concerns and questions, I hope you'll join the roundtable. I think it'll be a great discussion, and we will also reach out to Google. And I haven't had a chance to do that yet, but I will reach out to Google, invite them to participate. Google Street View team, to see if we can get a member of their team to participate in the roundtable as well. I think they're very interested in what the community has to say. And so I think it might be great to see if we can get a dialogue going on in a virtual roundtable for WGAN-TV Live at 5 on Friday, September 8th, 2017. And again, whether you want to participate in the roundtable or just sit around the table but still be able to ask questions, love to have you. Again, if you're not a member of the forum, please join the We Get Around Network forum. It's free. One of the membership benefits is you can participate in a virtual studio audience and ask questions. Even while we were doing this last one, Chris Hickman, Metroplex 360, was sending me some text messages to ask Ross some questions. So if you're a little camera shy or you don't have a camera or a microphone, whatever it might be, join us anyway, and then just text in the chat box and put forward some questions. So anyway, exciting. We had just an exciting week this past week in terms of programming. Next week, the week of September 11th, good solid topics. And if you have suggestions for programming, please do private message me. And I think I'm all out of words for today. So 6:30 Eastern Time, Thursday, September 7th. You've been watching WGAN TV live at 5, and this has kind of been our post show, just talking about what's coming up. As I always want to do, I just want to say thank you for being a member of the We Get Around Network Forum community. It's all about giving and getting help. I feel so honored to be among 3,200 registered forum members in 104 countries. What you have to say matters, and I think that's why we get more than 10,000 visitors a month. So a lot of people looking to the community to see what things that they like, don't like, and probably researching cameras, platforms, and third-party services. So thank you for being part of the community. I appreciate it. So I hope you enjoy your evening. Time for me to head home and make dinner for my bride.